A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. In those days the princess said to the king, Jeremiah ought to be put to death. He is demoralizing the soldiers who are left at the city and all the people by speaking such things to them. He is not interested in the welfare of the people, but in their ruin. But King Zedekiah answered, he is in your power, for the king could do nothing with him. And so they took Jeremiah, threw him in a cistern of Prince Malachi, which was in the quarters of the guard, letting him down with ropes. No water in the cistern, only mud. And Jeremiah sunk in the mud. Ebed-Melech, a court official, went there from the palace and said to him, my lord king, these men have been at fault in all they have done in the prophet Jeremiah, casting in the cistern. He will die of famine on the spot, for there is no more food in the city. Then the king ordered Ebed-Melech, the Cushite, to take 3 men along with him and draw the prophet Jeremiah out of the cistern before he should die. The word of the Lord.
A reading from the letter to the Hebrews. Brothers and sisters, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us rid ourselves of every burden and sin that clings to us, and persevere in running the race that lies before us, while keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the leader and perfecter of faith. For the sake of the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising its shame, and has taken his seat at the right of the throne of God. Consider how he endured such opposition from sinners, in order that you may not grow weary and lose heart. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. A father will be divided against his son, and a son against his father. A mother against her daughter, and a daughter against her mother. A mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
About a decade or so back, there was this really big deal in church, Catholic, Christian, of what would Jesus do? There were t-shirts, there were bracelets. It was this big deal. You don't see it as much today. People still hear remnants of it, but it was a really big, in-your-face thing. What would Jesus do? And an interesting thing for me on this is that a lot of times people had this presumption that what would Jesus do was always something kind, gentle. That Jesus would never yell at somebody, that Jesus would never get in somebody's face, that Jesus would always do things that people wanted to hear, wanted to see. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No. I tell you, but rather division. Well, that doesn't exactly fit with that storyline too well. Jesus didn't always do what was kind or what people think is kind. Sometimes the kind thing to do to somebody is actually to yell at them. When you see your small child walking towards a cliff and you yell at them, that's actually a kindness. But that child might start crying and think, you yelled at me. Saw that happen just the other day when my brother yelled at his little kid who was running towards something that was dangerous. I don't remember what, but immediately he collapsed on the ground and started crying. And my brother's like, why are you crying? Because you yelled. Sometimes what is kind doesn't always feel kind. And at the same time, sometimes peace isn't really peaceful. I love in the New Translation of the Mass, there's a prayer right before the sign of peace, and it says, grant us peace. This is paraphrasing because I can't jump right into the prayer in the middle. But grant us peace according to your will. Don't just grant us peace according to your will. Because real peace is more than that. Sometimes you can have peace that isn't peaceful, such as when it seems like it's peaceful between a husband and a wife. No one's yelling at each other, but the wife is sitting there stewing about the fact that he forgot it's their anniversary and is wondering why she's wearing such a fancy dress for dinner with fish sticks. The better thing, the kinder thing, is once in a while we need to be yelled at. Once in a while we need someone to get in our face and say, what you're doing is wrong. Or maybe just a simple reminder, do you think anything important happened, say this date 20 years ago or so? You know, sometimes we need to say something that's going to make somebody uncomfortable. And that is kindness. That is love. To get in their face. But we need to do it not out of wanting to be right, but wanting them to be better. Wanting them to get to heaven. Challenging one another constantly for how can I help you do what you already know is right? How can I help you grow closer to the God you already love? If we're doing it in a way that pushes them away from God, probably not the way to do it. But to do this well, many times begins with saying, all right, who do I need to yell at the most? Oh yeah, myself. I'm the one that I need to yell at the most. I'm the one that I need to get in the face of. So often, we want to get in the face of other people and what they've done wrong, or other people and what they need to correct. But it's really important in our Christian faith to look at ourselves first. Say, where is it that I'm not open to hearing the truth? Where is it that I'm not open to hearing a challenge to change? Where is it that I'm not open? Many times when I look at 24/7 news, it makes me chuckle and cry at the same time, as I know people listen for what they wanted to hear. And sometimes they listen to what they wanted to hear even when it's what they wanted to not hear. Okay, that sounds confusing, but bear with me for a second. People watch the news, and they watch their favorite political side, whichever side it is, and they listen for just what they wanted to hear from that side. And when the other side is speaking, whatever side that may be, they listen for when the other side says something they didn't want to hear because they wanted to hear it to prove that they were right in the first place of being on the side they're on. It's confusing, but you know it's true. The chuckle right there said, you know that you do it yourself. I know that I do it. We listen for what we want to hear. But what's important is to let ourselves be challenged. What does Jesus say in the gospel that I don't want to hear? What does Pope Francis say that I don't want to hear? What does the person on the other side of the political spectrum say that is true, and so I need to listen to it regardless of how much I dislike the person saying it? Which really, you don't really even know the person, so how can you dislike them? We're called to be open to the truth, wherever it may be, and realize the truth will challenge us. The truth does not let us be mediocre. The truth does not let us stay where we are. The truth always invites us to go deeper. May we not be afraid of the truth, for wherever we find it, we find the God who loves us enough to lay down our life for us. He says he is the way, the truth, and the life. If he is the truth, may we always be open to him wherever we find him.